living upside down. Can you help me? Get me back to normal. Woo! Thank you for helping me. I'm dizzy. Okay. Hello, Wonder Space Explorers. Welcome to the Wonder Space Show with Miss Natalie.
There's so much to uncover. Are you an explorer? Yes! Then join us on an adventure. All you need to do is
Look closely, think carefully,
solve many problems.
wait. That's not all.
We are the Wonder Space Explorers.
We create things big or small and beautiful. We are WONDERFUL. We are wonderful. La 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 la. Wonder Space. Can you guess what animal spends most of the day upside down? That's right, bats. Humans were not made to spend the day upside down. The short time I spent upside down made me so dizzy. That's because when we spend our time upside down, blood rushes to our brain and we feel dizzy. But bats are special. They don't have that problem. They have special valves that keep the blood from rushing to their head. So they don't feel dizzy when they spend most of their day upside down. But why do they need to spend their time upside down? Can't they just be upright like the rest of us? Well, there are some advantages to having the bats upside down. Bats can't just take off from the ground like birds. They need to drop from a high point like a tree or the top part of a cave before they take off and fly. So it helps them to take off and take flight. Wonder Space Explorers, I'm sure you're wondering, why are we learning about bats today? They are creepy. Well, apart from the fact that bats are very interesting creatures, I live in Accra, the capital city of Ghana, and a number of people have asked a question. Why are there so many bats in the trees at 37 Military Hospital? Where do you live? Are there questions you have? Are there things you're curious about? As Wonder Space Explorers, we explore, investigate, and find out answers to new things. So although we may not have the answers to everything, we can find out the following things. What kind of bats live there? What types of trees do the bats roost in? What do the bats eat? What do the bats do during the day and at night? Let's find out more about this place that is known to be the home of more than 100,000 bats. That's a lot of bats. Liberation Road is a very busy street in Accra, and it runs in front of a popular hospital known as 37 Military Hospital. This hospital was made for soldiers, but it's also open to the public. I'm sure you're wondering, I thought bats lived in caves. Well, some bats live in trees, and along the road, along Liberation Road, which is very close to 37 Military Hospital, there are lots and lots of trees, and there are lots and lots of bats. As I said, over 100,000 bats. These bats, I call them brave bats because they are not scared of all the cars and all the noise and all the honking and all the people. These are really brave bats. Did you know that bats are mammals? And bats are the only mammals that can fly. There are over 1,000 species of bats in the world. The bats at 37 are known as straw-colored fruit bats. Let's pay attention to the common name of these bats for a moment. Straw-colored? What's the color of straw? I think I have an example. This is kind of like the color of straw. Straw is a pale yellow brown. So straw-colored. And what's the other part of the name? Fruit bats. Can you guess what they eat then? That's right, fruits. Can you guess what fruits the bats might like to eat? Yes, did I hear someone say mangoes? They love mangoes. So bats would eat things like mangoes, dates, passion fruit, avocado pears, and custard apple. They also feed on nectar and might gobble up the whole flower. Why would a bat eat the flowers? But they do. Bats are nocturnal feeders. That means they spend their day resting or sleeping and actively look for food at night. Straw-colored fruit bats spend most of their day roosting at the top of tall trees. The trees along the 37 road are said to be mahogany trees or neem trees. So why are there so many bats at 37? Well, different people have come up with different reasons. Can you guess? Based on the information we've received so far, can you make an informed guess? Could it be the trees that they like at 37? Could there be something that they like to smell at 37? Or do they like the sound of the cars? Bats are known to return to their home year after year after year. So they've been there for many, many years at 37, over 40 years. That's a really long time. Now, there's actually a story that tries to explain why there are so many bats at 37. Do you want to hear the story? Great! I'm going to ask a little friend to come and help me tell the story. His name is Strawy.
Many, many years ago, there was a chief of Chebi, a town in the eastern region. He had many, many bats as pets. One day, the chief got very sick. They had to bring him to a hospital in Accra. That's right, 37 Military Hospital. The bats must have really loved the chief because they followed him all the way to Accra. The bats waited in the trees near the hospital. Unfortunately, the chief could not return home because he passed away. Oh. The bats are still waiting for their chief to leave the hospital so that they can return to their home in Chibi. The end.
That was a very interesting story, Strawy. Thank you. Wonder Space Explorers, it's time for our adventure. We're going to find out more about the homes of our straw-colored bats. Let's go and find our bats. Woo. Hello, Wonder Space Explorers. Can you guess where we are? By the sound of things, we are by a noisy street. Yes, we are Liberation Road near 37 Military Hospital. If you listen carefully, you can hear the bikes, cars, but if you listen extra carefully, you can hear the bats chattering. Behind me, we have some of our large, old mahogany trees. And if you look up, you'll find the bats. They look really small from below, but they're actually quite large. They are the second largest bats in Africa. Wow, that's pretty big. Come on, let's have a closer look at the bats and listen carefully so you can hear them chattering and clicking away. I'm going to use my binoculars so I can see them closely. Wow, they are actually quite large. They are not so small after all. Wow, the bats are actually so cool and they're not scared that I'm standing down here. When I look up, I see them huddled up in groups. Bats are social animals, so they stay together in groups. I can see a group there, a group there, a group there. They filled the whole tree. But guess what? Even though the tree is almost full, this is a small fraction of the population of bats that will usually be here. So in the dry season, we'll have more bats. But at the beginning of the wet season, the rainy season, they reduce in number. I hope you can hear me over the cars and motorcycles. All right, so as we learned ahead of time, the bats spend most of their day in trees like this, the old mahogany trees or the neem trees along this road. There are lots and lots of trees here. Can you hear them chattering? Can you hear the sound of the bats? Guess what? It's almost time for them to go looking for food. So in the evening around 6 p.m., they head out to look for food. Let's take a really close look at the features of the bats. Whoa! They are actually straw-colored. They have yellow, brownish, orangey fur or body parts, and their wings are black. When they are hanging upside down, they wrap themselves up with their wings. Whoa! And let's see one more thing. They look like little foxes. They have long snouts, pointy ears. They don't look like regular bats. They look like little foxes. And so straw-colored fruit bats are also known as little flying foxes. Wonder Space Explorers is getting darker and the bats are starting to... Can you see over there? Look, 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 look. Oh, wow. Let's check what time it is. Let me get my phone to check the time. They're starting to fill the skies. Woo! At exactly 6:15, they started to leave the trees and they're heading out to look for food. You can see, oh wow! Wow! Oh wow! They're all ready to go. They're all ready to go. Look at that! Like clockwork. At about 6 o'clock, they are heading out. Are they going in any particular direction? Looks like they're going this way. What could be there? Their food, their mangoes. We are bat watching and it's amazing to see that at the same time of every day, they leave their trees in search for food. And they filled up the skies of Accra. That was amazing! We saw all the bats in the trees and then we saw them take off into the sky. Now, as I said when we were there, the bats are not as many as before because during the wet season, the rainy season, they migrate to another part of Ghana, and then during the dry season, they migrate back. Can you remember the name of the bats at 37? That's right, straw-colored fruit bats. And when the camera got really close, if you could tell, the body of the bats is a yellowish brown color. Some of it is orangey brown, but their wings are black. And can you remember the other name for the straw-colored fruit bats? That's right, flying foxes. Because apparently they look like foxes. They have a long snout, they have big eyes, they have pointy ears. So the other name for straw-colored fruit bats would be flying foxes. Bats are really, really cool, aren't they? But they aren't just cool, they're also very important for our environment. I'm sure you're thinking, how? Well, bats are amazing pollinators and dispersers of seeds. That means bats help new trees to grow. That's amazing. Now, if you remember, we said that bats are nocturnal creatures or nocturnal feeders, which means they go around looking for food at night. As we saw at 37, they took off at 6 p.m. So they fly away at 6 p.m. in search for food, and they return at about 6 a.m. to rest again. Do you remember that we said that bats are nocturnal feeders, which means they spend the night looking for food? Now, most bats are said to use something called echolocation. What does that mean? I'm going to let Story help us demonstrate what echolocation is. In order to find food at night, some bats make really high-pitched sounds that bounce off things like objects they want to avoid or objects they want to eat. By listening to the sound that bounces back, the bat can determine if the objects are close or far, if they need to avoid the object or go towards the object. So imagine Strawy saying, echo, 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 and the scissors saying, location, location, location. Echo, location, echo, location. Strawy will want to avoid this object, so he will fly past it. But guess what? Bats like Strawy, straw-colored fruit bats, actually don't use echolocation. Isn't that right, Strawy? Yeah. So he was just demonstrating, but bats like Strawy don't need to use echolocation. So how do they see in the dark? Well, they have a strong sense of smell. Remember we said that they have a long snout, so they have a strong sense of smell. They have big eyes, and so they use their vision and their sense of smell to get around and find food. That's a very interesting fact because most people think that all bats rely on echolocation. There are lots and lots of interesting facts about bats. Now, remember we said that there are so many bats that live in the colony? Well, how do mothers find their children? Bats have a great way of identifying voices, so they know the sounds of different bats. So, for example, if you're outside and you say, "Mom," your mom will probably know your voice. Well, bats are able to do that too. That's so cool. Another really cool fact about bats is that they have patterns or prints in their wings that can identify this bat from another bat. So have you ever heard of your fingerprint? We all have fingerprints that are different. My fingerprint is not the same as your fingerprint, and it will never be. So interestingly, bat wings also have prints that can be used to distinguish one bat from the other. That's amazing. As we are talking about wings, straw-colored fruit bats have really powerful wings because they have to fly long distances. They migrate from one place to the next, from Accra to the north, from one region to the next. So they need really powerful wings, and they spend their time traveling over thousands and thousands of kilometers. I'm sure you're thinking, I heard bats drink blood. But you haven't said that at all, Miss Natalie. Well, only 3 species of bats in the world drink blood, and they're known as vampire bats. But they only drink the blood of animals. You don't need to worry. Most bats eat insects and fruits, like the fruit bats. Can you guess what time it is? It's time for our art activity. Are you excited? Yay! Guess what we're going to do? We're going to be making a paper bat like my friend Strawy here. Are you ready? Let's go. To make a paper puppet of a straw-colored fruit bat, you're going to need a few items. You're going to need some card, that's yellowy brown, some more card, black, brown, red, and white. You're going to need some glue and a pair of scissors. Okay, so let's start with the body. Remember we said the straw-colored fruit bats have a yellowy brown body, so you can find a sheet of paper that looks something like that. Fold it over. You're going to need your glue. Fold again. Turn it over, and then you're going to fold, and then fold again. Lots of folding. You should be able to put your fingers in here like that. Let's start making, should we make the wings now? Let's do that. All right. You're can draw the wing to help you. Get the shape of a wing. Separate the two. All right, we have our wings. Okay, so you're going to stick the wings beneath, yes. Now, let's get the ears done. So for the ears, you might just want to draw triangles and cut them out. All right. But what you need to do is you need to fold the base. So we have the ears. Okay. Straw-colored fruit bats have really big eyes, really big brown eyes. So you want to get some dark card and some brown card to create the eyes. Let's cut those eyes out. All right, we have the eyes. Let's create the nose. And create a tongue. Okay, so you can just cut out a longish triangle shape. Let's get some glue. So once again, you can cut out some triangles. Use your glue, and stick that at the top here. We have our paper puppet. I hope you had lots of fun attempting to make your paper puppets of a straw-colored fruit bat. Wonder Space Explorers, I can't wait to see your paper bat somehow, maybe through a picture. Well done. You've learned so much today. We learned about the bats that are near 37. We learned about the type of bats, the trees, what they eat, just about how many we can find. You've learned so much. You also heard about the story that tries to explain why there are so many bats near 37. Well done. Keep exploring, keep investigating, and keep finding out new things. Thank you for joining us today. As I always say at the end of our lesson, Wonder Space Explorers are wonderful!